Since June of 2021, I have read 20 books, and so since I'm filming this on September 3rd, 2021, it means I've read approximately 20 books in the last 3 months. And today I'm going to be sharing with you what I've learned from reading 20 books in 3 months. Before we jump into today's video, this is a new segment I'm adding to the videos, which is called the This or That section. This is where I ask you a question, you choose one, and you comment below why you would choose that one. So today's This or That question is, would you rather have the perfect hairstyle or perfect clothes if you had to choose one? Let's continue with the video. If you've watched this video here where I talk about, improving as a writer or becoming a better writer, I talk about reading as one of the things that you should do in order to improve upon your writing. And definitely that's one of the things, because I learned a lot when it came to writing style, when it came to the use of language, when it came to certain words and their usage. But there are some other valuable lessons I wasn't quite expecting, and I want to share those with you. The first thing I learned was that I do have time to read books. So I think one of my biggest excuses I would always make for not reading as many books as I wanted to in a particular year was that, I don't have the time, my life is busy. But unintentionally reading this many books in a short amount of time has shown me that I actually have the time. And even if I don't have the time, if I'm interested in the book enough, I will make the time. Now, I read both fiction and non-fiction books, so this is not just reading for entertainment, also reading for learning. And I learned this in both cases, that if I make the time for reading, I will find the time. And most of the time when we look in our lives, you'll notice that the things that we care about the most, the things that we love the most, we do make time for those things. And so, yes, I have time to read. And if you look in your life, you may realize the excuse that you don't have a lot of time may not be real. The second thing is gaining insight into cultures, the subcultures that are not my own. As you know, each one of us is born into different families, has different circumstances, may come from a different country, and things are different everywhere. In a lot of ways, we are the same, but in so many ways, we are different. And sometimes a lack of understanding of those differences allows us to be mean. On the extreme level, allows us to be mean, allows us to be less respectful of people who don't share the same subculture with us or the same culture with us. And one of the things that reading this many books has done for me is really helping me to pay attention to why certain people may do certain things. I may not understand them, I may not agree with them, but it gives me insight, and that insight puts me in a place where I can be more respectful. I can have a conversation with those people. Now, one of the things that I think that in 2021 and over the past few years I've seen has been lost a lot in a lot of places is the ability to have civil, respectful conversations with somebody that you don't necessarily agree with, and by the end of the conversation you may not necessarily even still agree with them, but you would have gained insight. I realize there's so much of that, and especially when we look at social media, and not to get on that social box, when we look at social media, we see that so much, where because you do not have the gift of seeing a person's face and the nuances and the tone and all of that in which somebody says something, right, especially when things are written, things can go viral for the wrong reasons. Things can just blaze a trail and sometimes in a really negative light, and maybe that's not what the person was really trying to communicate. So for me, I know that gaining these types of insights into subcultures and cultures is really helping me to finally maybe have conversations with certain people, come into those conversations more intelligently, and just have good conversations, Another way that reading has helped me in this season is in improving my relationships. So I'm quite the introvert. I like to say I'm an extroverted introvert because yes, I'm quite peppy and happy most of the time. But most people who know me personally, know that I'm quite quiet and will it takes a lot to come out of my shell, and sometimes even people have found me a little bit standoffish, maybe that's the word. When I was a teenager, people did say that to me, but that's mostly just because of my personality, and I think it's having that type of personality where yes, you love to interact with people and you love people, but then you tend to be quiet and sometimes you need to withdraw in order to regain your energy. If you're a fellow introvert, let me know in the comments below. Sometimes can be hard, when you have that type of personality, it can be hard to build relationships, or it can be hard to maintain the ones that you have. But more recently, as I've read books and as I've witnessed in some of those books, especially the fiction books I was reading, in some of those books, the way that friendships were discussed, the way that friendships were handled, the way that certain things sometimes came across in those books, a lot of the time it was very real because I'd seen them before, and it was like, oh, okay, this is why maybe this person responded this way to this thing that I did or said, and this is how I can improve upon it. And I'm in a season in my life right now where I have some really great friends, and I'm so grateful for that. And because it's something I used to pray for, that I'd have good friends, and I have good stable friends who tell me the truth, right? Who don't also talk behind my back, who I know are genuine and honest. And reading is helping me to make those relationships even richer. And I've also noticed that even my relationship with my husband has gotten richer, because we can have certain types of conversations, and I can be less selfish towards him. Reading these past few months, spending my time really delving into these books is really doing some amazing things for my relationships. Problem solving skills. So this is another one that I picked up from the books that I've read, and because no man is an island, and especially with nonfiction books that allow me to think through problems and solve problems, sometimes you're reading a book, right? So I heard this, let me just chip this in here. I heard this a while ago, and I read it in another book a long time ago, and it said that Zig Ziglar, who was a popular motivational speaker, I said he would read 3 hours a day. Now, I definitely don't have 3 hours a day to read, but I would say that right now I read on average 30 minutes to an hour every single day. And the reason he would read 3 hours a day was because he said that in those 3 hours as he was reading, he was just looking for one thing that will help him solve a problem. He was just looking for that one thing, that one new idea that he didn't already have. Right. And I think that it's done the same thing for me, where I'm reading and then I get sparks an idea and I'm like, oh, that's so good. And, it may be like in a segment of my YouTube video, or it may be in my social media, or it may be something I send to my email list, right? It also helps me problem solve, so that maybe I was having a problem with how to move forward in my business, with how to do something, and reading, right, or spending this time with these books just allows me to tap into somebody else's expertise, so that I can continue to thrive and move forward. And for me, that has been enriching. So like I was saying, how did I find the time to read? I made the time, and in fact, I realized that most of the time I'm wasting time on things like social media, for instance. But these past few months, where I've been able to just sit down and really make reading a part of my daily routine, has been completely enriching. And if you're looking to do the same, I encourage you to do so. I love, apart from reading physical books, I love to listen to audiobooks on Scribd, and you can try Scribd for free for 60 days at this link right here. Please go check it out and sign up and try Scribd for 60 days. I'll chat with you soon.